This video is going to help you get started with your sector classes. I recommend the first or maybe first and second classes for sector teams. So the first thing you need to do is get anyone in the room that's in your class, get them set up on Bloomberg and get them a Capital IQ account. If you don't have Capital IQ set up, make sure you get that set up in advance and test it in the room. Not every one of the machines in the room has Capital IQs. So just make sure you know which machine you're going to use. I'm trying to get the teacher machine to have Capital IQ, but it didn't the last time I checked. So if it doesn't, you may actually teach your class from a different computer. Some of the Bloomberg machines are not allowing us to pull data. So we'll have to test in advance which machine you use. Make sure you have both Bloomberg and Capital IQ. The next thing you want to do is introduce the industry or sector that you are leading. You can go out to Google and type in your industry and get a good definition. We'll get further into that when we get all your companies loaded and sort them by size so you can see who are the largest and even most profitable firms in your industry. So once you do that, that's probably going to take some time. So the next thing we want to do is get a list of all the companies in your industry. And so what we're going to do in there is go to Bloomberg. And some of you have done this before, use the rate index, get the members, and then bring in the different industry group names and export those to Excel. So in Bloomberg, we'll type RAY, you hit the F function 10 for index, you hit enter. And what comes up is a list of items. Number 11 is the member weighting, so click on that. And that will bring up all the stocks in the Russell 3000. We can eliminate the weight column, so just delete that column, the shares column, delete, and the price. And then we're going to do a search on GICS. We'll bring in the sector name. We'll bring in the industry name, bring in the industry group name, and finally we'll bring in sub-industry name. So you'll have these 4 columns. Then you want to sort them. It depends on which of these columns you're using. So I'm going to sort the sector because I'm going to do this for the consumer discretionary. But if you're just doing semiconductors, you could find the semiconductors, which of these columns gives you that, and you could sort on that. But we're going to sort on the GIC sector for this case. And then up here, we're going to click export and export it to Excel. So here's what it brought in. I'm going to select all of these, expand them out. The other thing to do is let's add about 3 rows at the top. And then insert a column in column B. In column A1, we're going to set this up so that we can do both Bloomberg and Capital IQ. So in A1, type USD. Capital IQ needs that to know that we're doing everything in US dollars. And in the second one, you're going to type a Capital IQ account. So make sure you have Capital IQ loaded and that you're logged in. So if you're not logged in, it'll tell you, but you can see I'm logged in. So then in A2, you're going to type equal CIQ. And most of the Capital IQ starts with CIQ, so Capital IQ, then get GET, date, open parentheses, IQ, underscore, today, and it should bring in today's date. I'm going to format it. So right click and format it to date. Let's just get our company. So I just want consumer discretionary. So I'm going to select that first company and select the entire row and go down until I find consumer discretionary. And then I'm going to delete those rows. And then I'm going to go below just consumer discretionary. So it should be consumer staples next. And I'm going to control shift down and right and delete all of those. So I should just have, so what you want to do is just get all of your companies in there. And once you do that, What we have to do here is this account over here, the ticker only works in Bloomberg. So we need a ticker. I'm going to actually even type it ticker/cap IQ. And the formula we're going to do there is we just want the SPWH. Unfortunately, some of the tickers are 2 letters, 3 letters, whatever. So we need to get it so it only pulls in everything to the left of the UW equity. Fortunately, the UW equity or UN equity are the same lengths. So what we're going to do is do equal replace, open parentheses, click on that ticker, comma, LEN for length. We want to know the length of this parentheses, -9, because that's how many letters the UN under space equity is, comma, we're going to replace that all the way into den with just blanks. So you do quote, quote. So if you can look at that, you can see it up here. If you need to pause the video, you can see that formula. That's the formula we're going to use. If you hit enter, it will give us just the ticker we need, and then you can double click and copy that down. So we've got the ticker in place. And so when we do that, we're now going to bring in 2 things on the industry. So you have all that set up. So we're going to bring in 2 things on the industry. So I'll show you that. We brought in the industry, brought into Excel. We eliminated the companies, except for the ones in your industry or sector. So one thing we might do is show the returns for our sector. So here's the tickers for the different sectors over here. So we're doing consumer discretionary. So our ticker is S5COND. So if we go on the Bloomberg, we can do S5COND, that index, and then we're going to type the letter COMP. So you could show your team their return. You can see it goes back to 2017. If you want to put the S&P in there, you could type SPX. You can see your industry the last 5 years has had an 11.68% annual return versus 10.4. If you want to compare it to another industry like S5CONS, which is consumer staples, you could certainly do that. You can see it hasn't performed nearly as well. So anyway, you can show it. You can see the graph as well. So that's a good thing to do, just to introduce your industry, its performance. If you wanted to see it just year to date, you can just type 12/31/2021, and they give you the year to date performance. You can see everything's down, but here obviously you'd expect consumer staples has done much better, and consumers discretionary hasn't done as bad as the market, but definitely worse than the staples. And then what we want to do, the last thing we'll do, so this might get you into the second class, we'll see, but this will set us up for building models. So what we want to do is show everyone how to pull data from both Bloomberg and Capital IQ. So what I want to do is bring in market cap from Bloomberg and return on invested capital for Capital IQ. So here's our Excel spreadsheet again, where we have these 2 things set up. We got the ticker set up. So what we're going to do first is Bloomberg. So we'll click on Bloomberg, find field, and we'll type market cap, current market cap, apply and close. So you've got the ticker there, the account. And so here we just use the function many of y'all have used before. So equal BDP, open parentheses, and go over and get the ticker in the first column, lock in the column $A, comma, $A5, and then comma, pick the account, and here lock in the row. Hit enter. Now we're going to get a massive number. So if we change this, you might want to divide by 1,000,000. Just so it's not such a massive number. So there's market cap. The next thing we're going to do is Capital IQ. So in Capital IQ, you do formula builder. What we're looking for is return on invested capital. There it is right there. We'll add that item, say okay. So now we've got that formula. And so now what we want to do is, if you're not used to capital IQ formulas, with capital IQ, it's equals CIQ. Open parentheses, go find your ticker. So the capital IQ ticker, your F function that lock in the column B, F4 function, comma. We're going to do an account, which is return on capital. It's your F4 a couple of times, function 4 a couple of times, you lock that in, comma, the number 999, comma, and then you want to go over, click on that date. If your F4 function, lock that in, comma, comma, comma. You actually need 3 commas, and then go over and lock on US dollars, function 4. So you can look at that CIQ, the ticker, the account we're pulling in. I'm not sure what the 999 is there. And then today's date, and then US dollars. This I'm going to divide by 100 because it's a percent. So I'm going to change that, format it to a percent, and then I can copy that down. All right, so we've got it all set up. So all we want to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do Control Shift down and right. And let's sort it one time by market cap, largest to smallest. You might put in a freeze frame. So you can see the largest company obviously is Amazon, and then Tesla, Home Depot, and McDonald's. So you can see the largest companies, the smallest companies are less than $100 million. So that gives us a sense of the biggest players in this industry. And the next thing we might do is we'll sort again. And this time we'll sort by return on capital, largest to smallest. And here you can see you have some values at the top because they probably had a negative invested capital, but you can see Vizio is the highest with 100, Windmarks, Smith & Wesson. So you see the highest returners, and then obviously the lowest returners are just disaster. So if you can get all that done in the first and maybe into the second class, you're good. What we'll do after that is essentially we're going to bring in a lot more accounts. Some of them in Bloomberg, some of them in Capital IQ with your own mix. And we might find some cases it's easier to bring them in with Capital IQ or faster. Sometimes Bloomberg might be faster, so we'll switch back and forth. But if you can get this far, you've got something that you can save and use in the next class. I'm going to put this as ticker Bloomberg so we just know. And so you got everything so that you can use both functions. And so just in the first or second class, you've taught them the BDP function and you taught them the CIQ function. So they just in one session can add 2 things to the resume.